All right. Today we're continuing our series called Thriving as an Empath. And today we're talking about givers and takers. And I've talked about this a lot, sort of in little bits in other talks. So some of this might be repetition for a lot of you guys. But years ago, I read a book called Give and Take by Adam Grant. And it was a brilliant book based on the idea that we often are attracted to people who... Puppy sounds. We're often attracted to people who might take advantage of our good nature. And this is a huge challenge when we're an empath. Because to be an empath is a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing to actually be able to connect with each other in an emotional space, connect each other in a heart space, and to completely be able to relax in that effortless communication of emotions, right? Like if you imagine if you're having a chat with someone and they're an intimate person with you, whether it's a child or a friend or a lover or a parent, but someone who you're connected to, you have a love with this person, and that you can sit and part of your conversation is verbal, but a lot of it is emotional. Like on the weekend, we were driving up north and my daughter was driving and I was in the front seat and my partner was in the back seat. Well, being around my daughter and I is a little bit like being around one person with two mouths, right? Like we have this connection. So we we talk, but we're almost finishing each other's sentences, but we're talking. And on a 3.5-hour drive, it's kind of a curious experience because there's this empathic connection. So you start to talk, but it's like your entire being fills in the rest of the sentence. This is a great gift, right? To be able to have this effortless empathic connection. And it's more complete than just verbal communication. It shares nuances in the whole picture. So it's actually really beautiful. So now you imagine you're this beautiful empath and you just desire this lovely free flow of conversation or free flow of communication with someone. And what if you've fallen in love with someone? And we'll just go down the romantic path because that tends to be the juiciest and most acute struggle. And you want this open, beautiful communication. So your empathy is wide open. You are receiving everything they're feeling. You want them to feel what you feel. And it's just beautiful. There's no twist to it. It's just beautiful. But they are a taker. They're not actually in the relationship for a mutual benefit. For whatever reason, maybe they had a difficult childhood, maybe they were raised by takers, maybe they just simply, are lonely or they want something out of people. But they actually see you as a beautiful opportunity to take. And they may not do this consciously. And as an empath, we may not see it soon enough. We may see them as exciting and interesting and edgy and exciting. And the truth is we're really being taken on a ride. And oftentimes what can happen is we will anticipate their needs very naturally, and then we'll just meet the need. And then nothing actually is reciprocated. And not that it has to be reciprocated in that way. Darn it. As the puppy kicks my water glass. And now there's broken glass and water everywhere. I don't know, guys. Darn it. Just give me 1 second. I just have to pick up the broken glass. You are a menace. Oh. Okay. Ow. Stop. She's in a little bit of a mood. We're busy talking about empaths here. Okay. Stop. Shh. Stop. I think I have to relax about the recording of this one. And just let it flow organically. And it just may have puppy sounds in it. I think I'm a little distracted that the puppy's going to ruin the recording. You know what's really funny about this? Is that it's very similar to this whole topic of giving and taking, right? She's a puppy. She is in a taking stage. She wants what she wants when she wants it. She's little. She's immature. She's not, that's the way it is. And, when we choose to have a puppy, we have to know that, right? We have to know that this is it. But what if she never grew up? Right? What if she stayed in this taking stage? What if she stayed needing your attention all the time? I want to go for a walk now. I need this of you. I need that of you. So, you might be kind of a cold-hearted person and just ignore them and let them whatever. But what if you care? And what if you have a big heart? And what if you're an empath? Right? You're going to I think she's got to go. I'll stop everything I'm doing and I'll go and I'll take her for a walk. And I think she needs a new toy. You know what? I'll stop this thing that I'm doing and I'll go to the store and get her a special Nylabone because that's just what she needs probably. And it's okay if I can't sleep because, she's bored and it's the middle of the night and I'm just going to get up with her. I've had a lot of dogs in my life, And it's okay when they're puppies. Just like it's okay when they're babies, right? They're literally dependents on you. But if they're a full-grown dog or a full-grown adult and they're still requiring this kind of attention from you and they're requiring you to intuit their needs, right? And crying at the bottom of the stairs. Storm, come here. Come on, that's enough. Up, come on. Enough. Come on. Jeez. This is a problem. Right? Right? We're trying to actually live. We're trying to do something. We're trying to do this. And it's yeah, but what about me? But what about me? Aren't you paying attention to me? So you can imagine how this would play out with an empath. And this behavior is not uncommon for a lot of humans. And I'm not saying they're bad people or anything like that. But for whatever reason, they are unable to fulfill their own needs. They're unable to listen with I just wanted to make sure she wasn't chewing my shoes. But this is what you can feel like as an empath. In life, in relationships, that you're literally being pulled away from every single thing you want to do. Every desire you have, every intention you have, everything you have, because there's always somebody going, well, what about me? What about me? And it's an interesting thing. I remember when my kids were little, part of my great goal with them was to, when they're children, I am more than happy to take that cover. I'm more than happy to be the mom, to fulfill what they need, to feed them, keep them safe, keep them, teach them whatever they need to do. But the goal was always independence. and not independence from me, like not separation from me, but their own autonomous beings, that all of their needs can be cared for by themselves. If I have a problem, I can close my eyes, meditate, pray, whatever you want to think, whatever you want to call it, and come up with a solution, right? We come up with a solution. And or maybe we have an idea that, well, I'm going to call this person. I'll bet they are the one that has the answer. Or I'll do some research, or we'll do something. But I teach the children to be autonomous beings. And if you really need something, then go and get it. Create it. If you want more money, then you get another job. Lots of us had 2 or 3 jobs to do whatever it is we wanted to do. Then that's what you do, right? And even emotionally, that it's really important to be able to process our own emotions. And don't get me wrong, I'm a very heavy verbal processor with friends. And if I'm really stuck, I will grab one of my kids or a friend and I'll say, hey, can I talk to you? Like, I'm really struggling right now. And normally the answer is sure, of course, right? And but I first do a pile of work myself, right? I'll do some yoga kriyas, or I'll meditate, or I'll journal, or I'll dance to angry music, or I'll go for a long run, or I'll do something, or I'll go to a counselor, or I'll do some kind of cool somatic therapy. I'll do something to sort it out on my own first. And then I'll be like, unless a friend just happens to come over and they're like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, then the verbal processing may come first. But I still have the ability to pull myself up off the pavement. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I don't. And sometimes I really want to have a warm hug. And I just want to have a friend to really sit and cry with, right? It's not about being completely separate. But if you get into a relationship with someone who requires this of you, right? They require you to always be there for them. I'm going through some stuff and you need to be here for me. I need to be able to text you, and I need to be able to know you care, and I need to be able to know that you're there for me no matter what. This is unhealthy. No other human has to be there for any other human no matter what. Whether you're married or you're grown children with parents, the soul's journey is to sort it on our own, right? The soul's journey is to climb our mountain. You don't get to go and piggyback on somebody else up someone else's mountain. And you certainly don't get to take someone off their own mountain and bring them to your mountain and then climb up on their back, right? That's not why we're here. And it's a real danger. And this exists in the world, right? So it's a really interesting thing, this idea of giving and taking. Because if someone's a taker, they actually look for people who will fulfill their need, because they aren't going to step up and do it themselves. They aren't going to, like, it's by design. And they will exhaust you until you finally stop. And what happens, and in this book, if this rings for you, I highly recommend this book. It's called Give and Take by Adam Grant. And it's been a long time since I read it, but it just blew my mind. And what he said, what happens is once the giver realizes what's happening with the taker, they will stop giving and they will start matching. And that's that point in the relationship where you say, well, you know what? I don't really see anything coming back my way. So I'm only going to give as much as they give to me. And if they do this, well, then I'll give then. I'll start to match. There is nothing more soul-sucking than having to be a matcher, having to calculate what you give, having to hold back the joy of giving. You know, I was chatting on the weekend with my sisters and friends, and we were talking about, one of them had just gone through a breakup. And they said, I really loved him. But even more than the fact that I loved him, I loved getting to love him. I loved having that outpouring of love. I loved having this person I could just pour myself into. This is the joy of giving. This is the joy of being an empath, is you just open the floodgates and your soul flows through it. It's like this heart chakra, right? We have all this glorious, universal, galactic, divine love coming through the back of our fourth chakra. And it whirls around in here, and then we give it to the world. It is so joyful to live like that. But if we're with people who are takers, they will just suck that dry. And you will give and give and give. And it's not just like, I love giving. It's great. It's not even the fact that they take it. It's the fact that we start to expect that we have to give. And we have to give things that we actually don't want to give. Right? Do I want to take the dog for a walk right now? No. I want to be here with you guys. Do I want to clean up a mess? No. I want to be here with you guys. But if I'm not careful, I would have ended this talk and gone and taken the dog for a walk. That's not me giving. That's me succumbing to their expectation because they aren't capable of doing it themselves. Right? That's not healthy at all. And then slowly the givers stop giving. We actually lose the joy. As an empath, we start to shut down our ability to be empathic. We start to withdraw. We start to come back. Because one of the big challenges is that because we've lived in a society where expressing emotions is really frowned upon, it's definitely frowned upon in men, and it's definitely frowned upon in women as well. Pull yourself together, for God's sake. Go to your room until you can be civil. You're not good. Don't be so emotional. What's wrong with you? Are you premenstrual? Right? So we've been taught to repress a very natural human expression of truth. So as children, if we weren't allowed to express ourselves, if we would get in trouble or sent to our rooms or whatever, or not be allowed to play with our friends, we would still, but that energy is still coming out. We can't help it, right? We can't help it. It has to come out. It's an energy. So what happens is we emote, E-M-O-T-E, we emote, and that energy comes out of our aura instead. We're not verbally saying it, but if anyone is energetically sensitive, you can feel it a mile away. And what happens if we're with a taker, and again, all takers aren't narcissists. Some people just really are needy from childhood. Maybe they were entitled. There's a lot of versions of takers, right? But for whatever reason, they believe in their deepest heart that other people are here to meet their needs. And this is a huge thing. If you ever meet someone and says, yeah, but I have a need and you need to meet it. It's like, no, I don't. I'm climbing my own mountain. You need to meet your needs. You. And I know there's lots of schools out there that have teachings of huge lists of potential needs that other people should fulfill for you. I take great issue with those lists. Because what they do is they create this give and take scenario. They create massive codependency and a complete lack of freedom and autonomy in each person. And in the end, each one of us is a soul. And I love people. I love connections. This is one of the reasons I can sort of live in my crystal palace and do my own thing and write my books and teach and do whatever I do, because I have deep connections with friends. and deep connections with my children and my partner, and but we are all autonomous. Every one of us meets our own needs. We're in relationship because it's joyful, right? We get to dance together. We get to play together. It's all in choice. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, great. There's so many other joyful things in the world. There's an infinite number of wonderful ways that I can meet whatever need I have in this day. No one person is responsible for that, because that person is on their soul's journey. And this is really, really important. If we're going to thrive as an empath, because we have to. This is a deep thing. This is our heart opening to the world. We have to deeply understand that every one of us has our own guidance, right? Every one of us has this beautiful 6th chakra, 7th chakra. We are listening to the universe as to how we are meant to wander through our lives and have the experiences we're meant to have. And if somebody comes along that is wonderful, and for some reason we lift each other up in our compatibility, or we complement each other, and somehow their strengths make me stronger, and we get to play and we get to dance, maybe in some beautiful masculine feminine dynamic. And I don't mean gendered, I mean some beautiful structure and chaos, or some wonderful experience. Brilliant. But we're each big, strong humans. So now you imagine this. Imagine as an empath. So you are a strong empath, not a weak empath, not an overly sensitive person, none of this nonsense that we're taught about being really interesting, emotionally strong and intelligent people. You are one of these empaths that they would have on the Star Trek Enterprise, because they need someone with the skill to read the emotional readout of a foreign, an alien nation or something. This is a strength inside of us. So now let's say you're in a relationship and you're with people who are takers or whatever, or they're just simply emotionally immature or whatever. We don't have to demonize them. And you can feel them. You're wide open and you can feel them, and you're like, wow, this person's really struggling. And they will struggle when you don't meet their needs. When you don't start bending to their will, when you don't start bending to their emoting, they'll start to amp up their behavior. There will be an anxiety inside of them that will start to amp up. And you'll feel that too, right? If they can easily be a taker and they've got you kind of wound, right, that all they have to do is sort of sigh and you change direction, and all they can do is be a little bit upset, and you'll like go and make their favorite dinner or make sure they're okay or give them a back rub or something. And all they have to do is just do a little emoting. They'll be very calm. So you can imagine this, especially if you were raised in a home where there was any kind of abuse or alcoholism or drug use or neglect or anything like that. The goal is calm in the home. The goal is that everybody's okay, nobody's yelling. That's what we want, right? We want this very calm emotional state. And if you can keep a taker at bay by bending yourself to their unsaid will, we can stay caught there for decades, right? And that person is like, what? I didn't ask you to do that. I don't know why you're so upset, right? And you're like, yeah, but I know that's what you wanted. Well, you know what? You should do what you don't want to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is where all the gaslighting and stuff then comes in. So as soon as you kind of watch this and you realize that you're a strong empath, and you start to watch this behavior, and you're thinking, wow. Well, and you say to yourself, if you desire something, if you want help, you need to actually verbally ask me. Because there's something very powerful about our words. As much as it's powerful to emote and to connect emotionally, our words are very powerful. And when someone has to ask for help, They actually have to verbally say, can you help me do this? It has now registered in their consciousness that they have asked for help. At this point, you can now choose to help or not. You can say yes or no. You can say, you know what, I'm actually in the middle of something right now, but as soon as this is done, I'd be happy to help you. At that point, they may have a little fit. Well, I want it right now, though. Right? But at least they're verbalizing it. They're hearing it themselves. They're hearing it all out loud. And you can look at them as a strong empath, knowing that you are a soul climbing your mountain, listening to your guidance, and say, that's cool. I'll be happy to help you in half an hour. Their behavior will keep amping up, and to be really clear that it's okay, right? It's okay that their behavior amps up. It's okay that they, unless they're abusive and stuff, in which case you got to get out of there anyway. But assuming they're not abusive, they keep amping up, and eventually there will likely be a tantrum, right? Because what's happening is this is an old behavior from childhood, and if they don't get their way, eventually the last ditch is some kind of temper tantrum. But this doesn't have to throw us just because we're empaths, And this is one of the important things about being an empath, is we have to know how to pull our antenna in. Just because we have the ability to read the room, just because we have the ability to read the emotional body of another person, doesn't mean we have to. We are in control of this ship. We control what we experience and what we don't experience. Even in yoga, there's a saying, I think it's brahmacharya, but it's when you withdraw the senses. So you're sitting and you're meditating, and you start to withdraw the senses, your senses from the world, and you allow all of your focus to be inside. This is very, very important in all cases, because our senses sense everything. I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm this, we feel all these things. I don't like that smell, it's too bright. We're constantly being driven by our senses. And it can be very confusing. Forget about empathy, right? Forget about intuition, forget about telepathy. Our simple physical senses can distract us from what we're doing, right? So this is actually a spiritual practice, to be able to withdraw your senses back into self and listen. This is a very important ability. So people often ask me, they say, how do you go grocery shopping? There's so many people, all these people, and they're all having all their issues. And very clearly, like I was taught actually from my intuitive friend years ago, you pull in your radar, right? You pull it in. And I mean, the question often comes, well, then how do I do that? This isn't something I can put words to. You choose to pull it in. Our intention is everything. You choose to pull in your radar, and you just go about your own business, almost as if there's no one else in the store. And you stay in your own, you can call it a bubble if you want, but you just withdraw the radar. And you remember, okay, I'm going to buy some fennel, and I'm going to buy some milk, and I'm going to buy some this, and you stay climbing your mountain. That's it. We get to put our focus anywhere we want. That's it. We don't owe this to anyone else. And this is why this concept of the takers is really, really important. Because we might have been trained as children that we have to keep our antenna out all the time, especially if there was abuse, especially if there was alcohol, especially if there was really dark personalities around, right? Because we would have kept that radar up 24/7 just to survive. But now as an adult, we need to look at this and say, I can pull that in. Right? Sometimes I even get it when I'm driving. If I'm driving on a big highway, you can almost feel anxiety in the cars around you. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but sometimes people are just like, they're going up and they're all over the place and they're changing lanes and they're crazy. And you're driving along going, what the heck is going on in the world today? But we are empathically reading all the other cars, all the other people in the cars. And I swear everybody's reading each other. And maybe it only took one crazy to set everybody else off. But you're driving along and you're like, I don't even want to be on this highway. And you start thinking about, how do I get off this highway and take a different route? Because this place just feels like a freaking accident waiting to happen. It's crazy. And then there's other days you're driving and it's like everybody's just chilling in the sun. Right? All the cars are just rolling along. Right? So how do you do it? You cannot stay focused on all the crazy around you, but you can imagine how there might be a desire to do it. Right? Well, I need to know. I need to be hyper aware because everybody's crazy. So I need to have my senses heightened so that in case there's an accident, like we get all blah, 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 blah. But that's not how you avoid an accident. You avoid an accident from withdrawing from the crazy, staying in your own lane. I saw that, Joshua. Staying in our own lane and driving. We have to be able to find our center. Just because the world is prickly does not mean we have to get stabbed, right? It's really, really important to know when to put the antenna out and when to pull them back in. This is a very important skill as an empath. So if we come back to this give and take, and the other person is a taker, and it could be, maybe it's not a lover, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a child, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's your neighbor that you don't even like, but they drive you crazy. Some people they take your attention. Oh, hey, did you hear about this? And you're like, I'm just going on a walk. Yeah, but and you're like, no, I'm just going on it. Yeah, but come here, let me show you this thing in my backyard. And you're like, your politeness training, your empathy, you recognize they're lonely. I really should go over there. Right? It's the same thing. So now you imagine we go back to this scenario where maybe it's a partner or a business partner or whoever, or a parent or a sibling, and you are not responding to their emoting. Their behavior is starting to amp up. They're amping their emotions up. They're putting some fire behind it. At this point, you have to be able to withdraw a little, right? You don't have to take that. You don't have to receive that, right? You don't have to shut down, but you don't have to receive it. I saw this great quote, and I've never heard it before, but I saw this great quote that apparently Einstein said. And he said, yes, there have been a lot of haters of my work, and a lot of people have sent me their disapproval, but it never seemed to touch me. It was like I was in a different dimension from what they were saying. That's not exactly what he said, but it was something like that. And it doesn't mean we become aloof or separate or anything like that. Well, we are separate in that we are different beings. We are autonomous. But it's not that we need to become shut down. We just need to let it kind of run past us. Kind of like Tai Chi. Kind of like you just let the energy go by you. And you don't take it. And this is why it's so important that we do our own work. That some deep program doesn't exist, that we deserve it, that we must take it, right? That we can dodge it. We can just let it go past us while they build to their temper tantrum. And even if they have the temper tantrum, we can just watch them like a 2-year-old if we want. Or we can say, you know what? We'll talk about this later when you're okay. Right? Because again, a temper tantrum is not just an emotional response. It's a tantrum to get a desired response. And maybe they learn or maybe they don't. But it's a very important thing to step back and play a verbal game instead of the emotional game, instead of the empathic game, to really be able to hold our own. I'm going to put my glasses on. And if you have any questions, please write them. I'll go back. You shift to broadcasting instead of receiving. Well, the interesting thing about broadcasting is broadcasting doesn't need to take any energy, right? If you're just simply you, right? If I don't have my antenna out, I'm still me. I'm not shutting down me. I've just pulled in my antenna. If I'm walking through the store and I'm happy and I'm humming and I'm doing my thing, I'm still radiating me. I can't help it. We all have auras, right? But I'm very clear that I don't want to read someone else's emotional body. They're not asking, right? They're not asking me to read them. So I'm just me. I just don't have any antenna out, but I am still fully projecting my aura, not consciously. It's just me, right? Great. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you have an amazing day.